Hootie hoo, what's up, folks? How y'all doing out there this evening? Welcome to another live edition of Real Talk for Real Men. In case you don't know, I am the host, Lee Black, and I'm having a great day. Hard to believe that we're coming up on the end of April. The weather is changing for pretty much most everybody right now. And so I hope, like you've had a great week. I hope you're in a great state of mind. I hope you're enjoying weather. I hope we're getting past some of the things that have really kept us from just being in the right mood. Spring is here, folks. Let's do what we do. And so I am doing a live show tonight, and I'm happy that I've got at least partial of the family members here. And so I already know that we are going to have a magnificent night tonight. I see I got my co-host with me, Tasha Mack. What's going on? I didn't expect to see you tonight, baby.
This close. This close.
Well,
I'm so tired.
How you feeling? For y'all don't know, Tasha's been pulling, I'm not going to tell her business, but work and just shit. So I really told her to rest. So how you feeling?
I'm tired. I was asleep, but that didn't last long. So it's all right. I'm up. So if I have to jump off abruptly, it's because it's some nonsense going on in the background. So
I understand. But look, I'm in the best possible mood because I wasn't expecting to see you, and I wasn't also even expecting to see my brother from another, Mr. Kendrick, Sport Hustle himself. What's going on, partner?
What's happening, beautiful black people? Good Saturday.
Sir.
What up?
Saturday. And so we here, man. We up and able. So God bless. I even got Terrence Cuzzo from New York City checking us out.
What up,
What's happening? We got the super fan in the house, grown woman. Don't try me, Miss CC. And hello, Terrence. And oh Lord, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. We got the posters in the house. We got Mr. G Money himself. What's going on? Be wet. What's happening, brother?
Hey, no. How y'all doing? How's everybody?
Man, we are doing great.
Good. It's been a minute, man, since I seen you, brother.
It's been a while, man. How you been doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Everybody's doing great. That's all I can ask for. As long as family is doing well, I'm good.
Absolutely.
He popped out with a new name. It's Be Real, not Be Wet.
Oh, it's Be Real now. Oh, Be Wet.
I love it.
He retired Be Wet.
Okay.
That's what's up. Well, we missed your real takes here on Real Talk. So, man, it's glad to see you, my brother. You always been in my thoughts. I'm loving that you and the missus will keep doing your thing. So glad to see you. I hope she comes on. We are going to have a phenomenal show, folks, tonight. I don't think we'll get sis Sherry. For those of you who don't know, she is my mom's caregiver, and sometimes it's a little difficult for her to concentrate and focus. So she's watching. I'm told she'll be watching, but we may not get her live. Okay, let's get to it then. What are we talking about? Because I want to cover some ground here. And as you know, on Saturdays, we either have games or we have some topics that's a little bit more serious. This is a bit of both, just so you know. So tonight's show is meant to just have great conversation, commentary on some of the things that's happening. And I just so happen to call this tonight's show Saints and Sinners. There's a lot happening that we want to talk about, and it's going to be a play on words throughout. But I just kind of wanted to get the family's take on just things that's happening in the news, And for many ways, I've kind of been a little bit out of context. There's Miss Poston. What's going on, sweetheart?
What up?
Good to see you. Glad to see you. So you guys may have more insight on some of these stories than me, because I'm got full disclosure. I've been disconnected. I've been dealing with some nerve pinch pain in my neck for the last 2 weeks. Had taken off work a little bit. And then, of course, I've been training a nasty, filthy, no good bitch named Kayla at my job. Fuck you and the road you rode in on. You now can't have a bitch. But okay, that's a whole nother segment.
My God. Okay.
And we're off.
Yeah, and we're off running. That lazy, no good bitch. I'll see you on Monday. But okay. For those, let's get into the show.
Always come into this.
Saints and sinners. So we're going to start out with the ultimate saint, folks. Unless you've been under a rock, we know that Pope Francis passed, and today was his funeral. And I want to show a quick video, folks, first before we kind of talk about what it means to you. I'm curious, from an individual standpoint, do you follow the Pope? Are you Catholic? Do you believe? What is the impact of his death for you? So I'm curious. So let me get myself rigged up and get this video, because I want to just show a little bit of, what is happening. And this is probably the most major story right now. So again, let me share my screen, and then we're going to check this out. And I want you guys to tell me what you think. Okay. I want to get your individual thoughts on this. All right. So somebody give me, when I play start, let me know if you can hear the volume. I hope I've selected the right button. It's titled "Leaders and Faithful Attend Pope Funeral." Here we go.
The morning started with
y'all hear that?
For Pope Francis.
Yes.
His coffin was carried into St. Peter's Square. The faithful gathered, the world watching. The powerful and notable sitting side by side to celebrate a man whose life was about the poor and forgotten. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump, along with former President Joe Biden and his wife Jill, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, just some of the 50-plus world leaders in attendance. Earlier, cameras capturing this moment as the Trumps paid their respects inside the Basilica. Outside, St. Peter's Square transformed into a church, tens of thousands standing wherever they could, and crowds of hundreds of thousands more stretching for blocks. In front of the altar, a book of Gospels laid open on the casket so that its pages could be turned by the wind. Standing watch nearby, the cardinals. In these rows of red, a new pope will emerge. During the Mass, Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, highlighting how Pope Francis spent some of his last living moments celebrating Easter Sunday Mass, then traveling through the crowds in the Pope Mobile. And Francis, even in death, would be among his people once more. A procession to his burial site, winding through Rome. For the first time in more than 100 years, a pope is not being buried in the Vatican grottos. Pope Francis choosing Santa Maria Maggiore as his final resting place, a basilica close to his heart, a place he prayed at the beginning and the end of every papal trip. His tomb with a sole inscription, Franciscus, reflective of the life he tried to live. Simply remarkable. And we're expecting that.
I'll stop it there, folks. Yeah, look, over 200,000 people attended this particular funeral. He's being laid to rest in Rome St. Mary Major Basilica, near an icon of the Madonna that he revered because it reflected his humble and simple life, we're told. There was, I'm told, 164 countries attended the funeral. As you saw some of the dignitaries there, it was awfully auspicious that you didn't see the Obamas. I thought that was interesting. But this funeral comes after his body lay in interment for 3 days, and over 250,000 mourners filed past his coffin to pay their respects. And so this is clearly, a major story. The Catholic Church is probably the most dominant religion on the face of the planet. There is literally over 1 billion followers, and he is revered. When you hear the Pope, and I don't know how many people know how much the Catholic Church know much about it and how it operates. It operates as a separate entity. It literally operates as a separate. It has a seat at the table at the United Nations, so to speak, and that they operate very independent of anything else. So I'm curious for you individually, what this means. And I want to just kind of catch a couple comments, and we might have some trollers that we might have to boot out. We'll see. But Holy 123 says Earth is a joke, especially America.
Yeah, that's
go fuck, so go fuck yourself, whoever you are.
Yeah,
but
interesting name choice. Call yourself holy, and then make it. So okay.
Yeah. So we don't have time for your fuckery and foolishness. Keep rubbing peanut butter over yourself and go lick your mama, you dirty fuck. But okay.
Now, was that Fairy Saint Field? No.
Also, were they not on Earth typing this comment?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. If this was your first time visiting the show, yeah, we do that here. Okay. So I'm curious as to what you guys, anybody, just what do you think about this, in terms of how you feel? Cece says, I was hoping you would catch that just ignorant. Cece, I'm on it. I'm on it, sweetheart. So anybody, what's your take on just watching this unfold? How do you feel about this personally? Mm-hmm. Come on, Big Mac.
I'll say this. For me, I think it is. I'm not Catholic. I know. I believe my mom. I believe she is Catholic. At one point, my dad was Catholic, but he did convert over. But if you've ever been around him, if you've ever been in the car with him, you'll catch him he'll still cross himself and everything. Okay. For me personally, I'm not Catholic, but I do find this refreshing in this sense that a number of people gave time for a religious, for something religious other than foolishness. Okay. It is refreshing that people still were able to come together, even if it was a very somber occasion, for a funeral, but still to see that there is a religion that people are following despite what's going on in the world, that that people that there is still a religion. But more importantly, I do find the Vatican the Vatican very, very fascinating because it is its own country. It does operate differently. I do find it fascinating. But more importantly, the next pope is that they've shown is supposed to be a black pope. So it's very interesting.
Wow, I did not know that.
So it's between two, supposedly, and I can't remember their names, but supposedly it's between two that it's supposed to be. So.
Okay. For anybody who's really interested in how this all works, there's a fascinating movie called Conclave, and it's really, really good. I'm with you, Tasha. Their whole thing is very fascinating. So, Han, I see you've probably seen. So, yeah, what do you think? What do you guys
speaking of Conclave, if the new pope is black, you already know. Okay, I ain't gonna spoiler alert, but let's hope the new pope is not the guy from Conclave. It's weird. I'm not Catholic. My first 5 years of education, I went to Catholic school. Mm-hmm. Yes, my education starting out was Catholic. So even though I wasn't Catholic, we had to still do the things. We had to do the ashes, everything. We still had to follow.
Right.
Because I went to a Catholic school. However, I guess it's not a good occasion, but it is good. I don't think the Obamas would have been here because he wasn't the president or the former president. So I think because he's so far removed, I think you have to have a certain, I think you have to either be president or former president being something that intimate. So maybe that's why they're not there. Or if not, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
That other man was there, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm just happy that I actually like this Pope, even though I'm not a Catholic, and I'm happy he's going against the norm. This Pope seemed as though he wasn't like every other one.
Okay.
Type of one, and the fact that he doesn't want to be buried in the Vatican and he chose where he wants, I respect that.
Okay. Be real. What you think, my brother?
I like that I put B Wet. I put the wrong name.
Be real, Hannah. No.
That's the other thing. I'm tired, y'all. I was just tired.
I love it.
I think everybody. So far everybody's been right on what they're saying about their feelings and how the optics, but I think there's something else with brewing. I don't know. I get an uneasy feeling.
Oh wow.
A lot that's going on right now. Not because of 47 being over there,
right?
But because 47 is over there, I think it's something's not right, man. And I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, man. I'm just gonna sit back and just watch. But as far as the Catholic thing, my introduction to Catholicism was with my grandma having having white Jesus on the wall,
right?
Martin Luther King, and then she actually had the Pope, and I was like this. I was like, "Who's that?" And she started explaining something to me. But You know, he was a decent pope. He's a decent pope.
Okay. Brother from another, bring us home. What's the impact on this for you? Brother Kenny.
If I got a delay, y'all bear with me. My doggone Wi-Fi want to show out. Yeah, I'm here. Bear with me. My damn Wi-Fi is showing his ass as usual. But I don't have any feelings on it. I'm indifferent, and that's no disrespect to the Catholic religion whatsoever. To those that practice Catholicism, I'm indifferent to it. I wasn't even keeping up with it. I actually forgot the funerals today. It really doesn't affect. It didn't really affect me. So
wow, I love the eclectic mix of views. That's why I love you guys, because this is called Real Talk for a reason. We all own our individual opinions and share them in respectful, and I absolutely love that. For me, I'm more than indifferent. I despise it on so many different levels for me personally. Clearly, I'm not Catholic.
Clear.
Yeah, clearly. But I have such disdain for organized religion in general. For those of you that don't know, I consider myself more spiritual. I'm an inactive Jehovah's Witness. When I watch that pomp and circumstance happen, it disgusts me. Now, like you, Kenny, I didn't follow it at all. Didn't watch any parts of it. Could care less. It rubs me the wrong way in that it's offensive for me to my belief in God. You know, I despise the whole notion of that religion in of itself. The call somebody father, kissing the ring, what the religion stands for, the decades and hundreds of years of molestation of children and things like that. And that's not to say other religions aren't just as culpable in the despicable things they do, which is why I'm just against organized religion in general. But in particular, when I looked at that video, and this was my first time watching this with you guys, I didn't watch this ahead of time. It smacked of such disdain and against the very message for me of how I interpretate the Bible. One of the things that Jesus Christ hated was the Pharisees and Sadducees and how they made a showy display of how religious and pious they were. And, you know, for those of you who don't know, I know my Bible very well. And he talked about in particular how they would stand in front of men with their fancy robes so that they would appear religious. And looking at that video, that sea of those people in them fucking duck outfits looking like quacks. And if you watch the movie Conclave, all of the fuckery that goes along with the nonsense of it all, to choose a biological man to sit in a place as if he's some heir to Jesus's throne and he's infallible, and then carried out and the dignitaries. There is a reason for me in the Bible why when Jesus was laid simply in a tomb and God removed his body so that he could not be revered. So the idea that we know where he's going to lay so people can come and continue to self-worship him, it's absolutely despicable for me. And it smacks in the face of 2 Corinthians. I want to share something with you guys. And again, these are my views. But in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 4 says, "For if someone comes to you and preaches a Jesus other than the Jesus we preached, or if you receive a different spirit from the spirit you received, or a different gospel from the one you accepted, you put up with it easily enough." And let's jump over to verse 12, where it says, "And I will keep doing what I'm doing in order to cut the ground from under those who want an opportunity to be considered equal with us in the things they boast about. For such people are false apostles, deceitful workers, masquerading as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising then if his servants also masquerade as servants of righteousness, their end will be what their actions deserve." When I read that scripture, it speaks to me that these people sitting in a godly place, projecting a godly spirit, and they talked about this, man. Well, if you were so godly, why the fuck didn't you do anything about your organization's, molestation of kids for all these years? What you stood for in your life, you've lived a life of privilege, and to be carted around. So in case it's not coming across clear to those, I have a true disdain for the entire thing, but I'm gonna go back to minding my business. Anybody would like to add any more to this?
You summed it up.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at
So again,
I disagree, but I think it's everybody has their has their own view and entitled to their own view, but where I can understand like your religious convictions, they also may have like the same religious convictions. And for me, I'm not going to tell somebody, like that's what you shouldn't be doing. That's just
absolutely.
Me.
I love it, and that's why I love, again, we get to share our views. Thank you. And that's the beautiful thing about this show. We're all very much individual different. Let's move on. Saints and sinners, folks. I want to talk about the Shannon Sharpe situation. And why am I interjecting saints and sinners here?
I was hoping he was next.
Yeah, because I'm not going to rehash the whole thing, bubble up. I did my own little segment on it yesterday and gave my views. But for those of you who don't know, in a nutshell, Shannon Sharpe is clearly embroiled in the fight of his life. His reputation is at stake. All of the deals he's made. He stepped away from his role on ESPN First Take. I don't know if he's going to continue to do Club Shay Shay, his own show. And he was set to have $100 million deal. He really, at this stage, was probably one of the baddest people in the game when it comes to social media. And this came along, and obviously, for those of you who don't know, ESPN is owned by Disney. And I don't want to get too much into that portion of it, because guess what? Tomorrow morning, I will be appearing with this man on his show, and we're going to be discussing it even more detail. So please come check us out. But from the Saints and Sinners perspective, I'm curious for you, which side you guys fall on. Just a simple, do you believe him or do you don't? So right at the outset, you know how that little cartoon used to be where you'd have a devil and an angel sitting on your shoulder? You know what I'm saying? So we don't know the whole story. It's going to play out how it's going to play out. But for what you've listened to, for what you've heard and your interpretation, I want to hear from the family. Do you believe him or you believe her? Anybody?
Can I go?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
You were itching to go anyway, Hannah.
Right.
So
So
yes.
I'll say this. I don't want to say I don't believe her. I feel like it was a mutual understanding. I feel as though it was trifling, but I don't feel as though it was assault. I also feel as though he is too grown and been in this game too long to release her information. You have lawyers and a publicist. It wasn't the fact that he did it before he released her name. They didn't know her age. They didn't know her name. So they couldn't fire you. I'm sorry, he left for his family. Quit before you get fired, basically. So if he didn't release that on social media, because he's big on social media. So in him trying to just get on top of it and call her bluff, it kind of was detrimental to him, because that's released to the courts. You could have had your lawyer release those documents to the courts. But once you released her name and people Googled and found her age, and Disney, even though Disney has their little behind the scene things on the front, have you ever worked in corporate America? It doesn't matter what happens behind the scenes. This happened once it's revealed. So once it became front and he revealed it himself, I feel like it's a mutual thing that they had. He shouldn't have had it. It was trifling, but it is what it is. Because my son would be 19. I wish he would be with a 56-year-old. He'd be 19 this year. That's trife. However,
but he's legal. He's legal though.
He's legal. And I'm not his business. I birth you, but whoever you date is your business. However, I feel as though Shannon should have let legally and publicists handle this, and he might still be on ESPN, because the courts would have worked this out. That lawyer who's involved is trifling. Jay-Z just sued, but he didn't release them documents. He didn't unseal them because he was playing chess and Shannon was playing checkers.
Okay. So from where you sit, where do you fall in this right now? Is he more saint or more sinner?
Oh, he's straight sin. You doing
Okay.
you doing race race
Okay.
Chelsea,
Well,
big black baby. I remember my Bible saying put that big black baby in me. So I'm giving straight sin.
all
Okay.
right. So in this instance, Shannon flicked off the angel from where you sit. Okay.
But she's the ultimate sin to me.
Okay. Okay. Anybody whoever want to go next, but Craig says a man's biggest weakness and downfall is a woman. From Adam to King David to Shannon Sharp, a man will lose everything over some coochie.
That's true. That's true, Craig. I can't argue that at all. You're
Well,
right.
DC says, "Hey, Craig, that coochie will get them every time."
Yes, you're right, CC.
Okay. Interesting. Who want to go next? For you, does he fall more saint or sinner?
I can go. For me, I would say he would fall to me more. Let's just say more saint. I mean, I don't like really, the comparison there,
Right.
but to me, it's like all it was is a relationship that we got to hear about, a situationship, a hookup, an agreement between two adults that the only reason why anybody gives a damn about it is because it's Shannon Sharp, and because if his name was Freddie Moore, we wouldn't give a fuck about it, or if his name was Kenny, we would not care. If it was B Wet, Hannah would care, but the rest of us would not, so it would not be. That's the whole thing, and it's just sad that it's always like this exploitation of not only the person who's in it, but also just like of the media and the dragging of it, because big fucking deal. Y'all fucked. Y'all was fucking and y'all fell out. Like, big fucking deal. Like, yes, it's Shannon. It's your fault. When she wouldn't sign the NDA, you shouldn't have fucked with her then. But again, a man, it's so easy to trip a man up with pussy. It's too easy. It's scary. It's too easy. Because they fall for it. You just talk them out of it. It's just too easy. But still, it's gotten blown way out of proportion to where now here come more people giving their story about some shit that happened some years ago. I don't give a damn how long ago. If you ain't gonna say it in the moment, don't talk about it anymore. I don't care. Like, if you ain't gonna say exactly like when it happened, then I don't care how scared you were, how anything. Don't talk about it. And for me, the age aspect of it, it's not even that big of a deal. It's not a big deal. At some point, most people, I would say, have fucked with somebody where there's been a large age gap there. Some people have. And it's just like, obviously you was fucking with him because he had the money and he had the experience. And shit, you enjoyed it.
I love it. I love it. I love that the women went first too. Sherry, what's up, sis? Sherry says, let that man get some of that mustard stuff.
Well, you know, Sherry and doggone black brothers.
Exactly.
Well, y'all.
The power of the PU.
Craig says, I agree, Tasha. That's why someone with Shannon's status and money got to move differently. Yes. He knows people are out to get what he has. I agree 1,000%, Craig.
All I'm saying is, and let me say this too, these bitches is messing it up for those of us who would be very discreet. Because I would be sitting over here. I'll play any game you want to play. Okay, I'll play any game you want to play. But you just.
I'm glad you said
for
it,
the wrong thing,
and I didn't have to say that. I'm glad you said it. I didn't have to say it because Tasha makes so many good points. But I'm a whole mind, brothers. Where you at? More saint, more sinner. And for the record, there's a reason why I'm doing it this way, because when we get to Brother Kenny's portion, he's going to tell you what to expect from tomorrow's show on this same subject. So be wet. More saint, more sinner, my brother. Your wife. I saw your wife looking upside your head. So go ahead.
Oh no, he has his own opinion.
You know what I mean? I'm just mad that he let her play him. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
Like,
man.
and then you're supposed to be an OG. You know what I mean? You up here falling for that, and then it's messing up your money now. How much money you were standing to make? You never put yourself in that position. Like, you should already know the game. She a only fan model, whatever she is, man. Like, you shouldn't have been stressing over that. Like he was catching feelings for her. I'm gonna choke you in public. Like, come on, bro. What you talking about?
Ain't nothing wrong with choking.
No, it ain't nothing wrong with choking. I mean,
go ahead now.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with choking. You know what I mean? Here she go, cutting up. But I'm gonna say, now you say, if it's Saint, do I believe him?
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm taking mine back. If I believe him, it's Saint. I'm believing her.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. So, and center is believing her.
Right.
No, I believe Shannon.
Believe Shannon.
Saint.
My brother, where you at on this subject? And tell us what we can expect from tomorrow.
Man, as you know, I have been really engulfed in this story from the jump when they first jumped off. Let me say this: tomorrow, I think a lot of stuff that a lot of people have missed. Is that this is a civil lawsuit. There's no criminal. Has no criminal anything in it. This is strictly a lawsuit, and it's strictly about money. Number one. Number two, there's a lot of things that I think that's been released because of my journalism background that could be questioned in court. Yes. It could be thrown out, i.e. these audio recordings. It's something about these audio recordings. I think there was some editing to it. I don't think those audio clips you've heard, if you really listen closely, sound like there was some editing in it.
A little skipping.
There was some skipping. So we don't get the full narrative of actually what that conversation about. And was these conversations legally recorded? Wow. That's some other stuff. We're going to go more in depth on that tomorrow. So y'all make sure y'all check in. Back out at 11 a.m. Central, 12 noon Eastern. We're going to come at this Shannon Sharpe deal from if I was a juror on this trial.
Ooh, and I'm so excited to be there.
So we're gonna talk
I just
about
did
that.
Jury duty and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, but my thoughts on it. Who's the saint? Who's the sinner? I think God dang, man. I think you gotta probably look at Shannon maybe being more the sinner because he was a little bit reckless. He didn't dot his I's and cross his T's dealing with this young OnlyFans woman. Yeah, I said it. Her reputation has a lot to do with how you a woman's reputation has a lot to do with how a man deal with her. And I don't mean that in a negative. I'm not coming at women, right. But if you're an OnlyFans chick, you got to deal with her as such. And that's where Shannon kind of got a little bit too loose with some of his things with this young lady. So I say that they both are sinners, but I think Shannon is the bigger sinner in this one because he had the most to lose.
I like it. Grown woman don't try me says, and she went civil for the money. She might get sooner than going criminal.
Well, it's too if see, that's the thing. She was never going to go criminal because if that was the case, she would have reported this 2 years ago. It wasn't never criminal for her.
I got my thoughts on that too, and I'm sure we'll go into.
She wanted it. She saw a money grab. So anyway,
Craig says, I say Saint. I definitely believe Shannon, but I agree, Bert. He got played by a 19-year-old. Cece says at Craig, and that's the sad part, he should have been up on his game, and Craig is agreeing. So simply put, I guess I agree with you, Kenny, and if I had to pick a side, he's definitely sinner, but not for the reasons people would think. I embrace sinners. I am a practicing sinner, and I've gotten pretty good at it. So, I embrace it. I peg him a little bit sinner more so because, again, there should have been a level of wisdom to understand the game. You have to charge it to the game, that you offered 10 mil, whatever your reasons were. you put yourself in a position now where the appearance now is that you are guilty. You're older. We have countless examples of people doing these things that men, to Tasha's point, that pussy is still catching dumbass athletes, actors, whatever, by electronic means. Tasha said something very important that should sign the NDA. Did you forget you're Shannon? You're Shannon. Like Tasha said, I'm nobody. Right. You know, I have successfully been able to trace many no good bitches across my threshold, and they have had varying complaints because, again, of the way I play the game. And I'm nobody. I'm a fat, poor dude with missing teeth, looking like a fucking pumpkin out here, you know. And you're Shannon Sharpe, for God's sake, a Hall of Famer, got a mansion, this, that, and the other, that you wouldn't institute something simple as saying, look, if I fuck with you, you got to sign this. Because to Tasha's point, for everyone that says, no, I'm not about that, there is probably 50 women that would be like, I'm cool. You keep me satisfied on the side and blah, 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 blah. And again, I'm with Tasha, have no issue with the age and none of that. And then let's not kid ourselves. They have a messy situation that played out in public only because he's famous. Because right now at 8:37 p.m., some nasty bitch is texting some dumbass nigga right now and sending dick emojis, but nobody gives a shit. You know what I'm saying? Nobody gives a shit. Right. You know, I famously said that if I call a bitch right now and be like, yo, you trying to come over? I don't know. What you trying to do? I don't know. And the moment I hang the phone up, here comes a dick emoji. And then the text comes right behind it. I want you to spit in my mouth and choke me. You dirty bitches know you do this. So stop playing out here, folks, like this is new. Don't stop acting brand new, people. But I want to go to I'm sorry, go ahead, Tasha.
I'm sorry. I wanted to add two more. I want to talk about two more things with that. Number one, the audio, it wasn't even bad. I don't know what y'all do like in y'all's relationships or with those that you sin with. The audio was very vanilla. It was
it was. I agree. I agree with you, Tasha.
And when I heard the audio, first of all, I had to stop because I was like, damn, that sounds like me. But then also,
damn.
I kid you not, because I called a friend of mine and I asked him, I was like, did you hear this? And he was like, no, send it to me. And I told him, I was like, because it sounds like me and you on the phone. Because I kid you not, at least one time we're on the phone, he says he's going to choke me. Do I have a case? No, because it's not that serious. He's not going to do that. And so I forgot the other thing I was going to say, but this is just, here's the other thing I was going to say. The other part of this that, how it's kind of spun out into the media and all of these older rappers and everything coming out having opinions about it. Y'all better be fucking careful. Okay. You're not immune from it. And it can happen to you too.
Tasha, you're going where I'm going next. Tasha, you're going where I'm going next because I want to add a different wrinkle. Tasha went exactly where I'm going next with this really quickly. But Cece says, I agree, Kenny. That's why I said she didn't have a leg to stand on for the criminal. They both forgot there is a digital footprint of all that occurred. And so look, they're both sinners, in my opinion. But Shannon, come on. But Tasha went where I want to go next because I wanted to highlight Stephen A. Smith on this segment. Stephen A. Smith is a loud, brass, arrogant, sometimes irritating person. He's
irritating as hell sometimes.
And so when I'm watching him every morning, sometimes I literally have to mute this dude because, my God. But that clearly he's doing something right because he's been the number one spot for, 10 years, Kenny?
Longer than that, since 2009. I mean,
so whether you hate him, love him, whatever, he's doing this thing. But to Tasha's point, because I have watched Cameron and Charlemagne the God and different ones who are coming forth in the hypocrisy, and Tasha brought up something that I wanted to give Stephen A. his flowers for. Nobody's perfect, and this is called saints and sinners. Look, without joking, we all have some skeletons in our closet. Every last person, there's something that probably you wouldn't want getting out. That's just a fact, And so you have to be careful when you throw stones, because what if you find yourself on the end and now you're being tried in the public, or even if you're not, where is the people who propose to know you stand? Even when I think about R. Kelly, I think about Diddy, I think about all these cases, and Stephen A. Smith did something on his own platform that I've never been more proud of him. And for all his brashness and irritability and this, that, and the other, and he's not always right on his takes, and he's entertaining, but what he did with this take, and I'm just going to play you guys a snippet of it, I will forever respect the shit out of this man. And I would hope that if I'm ever in trouble, this is an example of what I hope for. So when I think of P. Diddy in trouble, I think of R. Kelly. Michael Jackson went through hell. We got a litany of examples. Stephen A. Smith did something that I wish more people would do. And so I want to share this with you guys. And we're not going to play anywhere near the whole take. I just want you to hear a little bit of, for me, I've never been more proud of him as a man. Here he is speaking on the Shannon Sharpe situation.
It's involving Mr. Shannon Sharpe, who announced yesterday that he would be stepping away from ESPN and ESPN's First Take, my daytime job, at least until the NFL preseason sometime later on this summer. As you may recall, a lawsuit was filed against Shannon on Sunday by a woman using the name Jane Doe, or using a Jane Doe pseudonym. The 13-page civil complaint filed in Nevada alleged that Shannon Sharpe committed assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery. Shannon and his attorneys responded with evidence of the relationship being, quote unquote, consensual. And Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Busby, responded by releasing audio of an alleged conversation between his client and Shannon. For those that don't know, Tony Busby is the same attorney that filed the lawsuit against Jay-Z and Diddy, alleging they both sexually assaulted a minor, which has since been withdrawn. Jay-Z has now countersued Busby. Needless to say, the headlines this week took on a life of their own, and as a result, Shannon announced he was stepping away from ESPN. Here's a portion of Shannon's statement that he posted on social media. Quote, "I will be devoting this time to my family and responding and dealing with these false and disruptive allegations set against me. I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason. I sincerely appreciate the overwhelming and ongoing support I have received from my family, fans, friends, and colleagues," end quote. It's been a difficult week from a sports media perspective, certainly as it pertains to First Take. Shannon Sharpe became a friend. When I recruited him to come on board on ESPN's First Take, he came on board and he did a sensational job. No matter the amount of success that we enjoyed for the 12 years prior to his arrival, he helped take it to another level last year. And we were doing our thing this year as well. And so when the news came down that he and ESPN had mutually agreed that he would need to come off the airwaves of ESPN, it was a blow to the show, a blow to me personally, because I'm going to miss him. But it was not a surprise. When I was on the air just a few days ago, a lot of people were looking for me to say something. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to speak to one's innocence or one's guilt about something I have absolutely positively no knowledge of whatsoever.
Why don't you own apartment buildings? Seriously, why don't you own these big apartment buildings? And I get
this.
Do I believe that Shannon Sharpe is guilty of what he has been accused of? Absolutely not. That is my personal opinion. The brother that I've come to know, I don't believe would assault or rape anybody. And I'm going to state that emphatically. But just as emphatically, I'm going to remind everybody it is my opinion because of what I feel about him. Not in any way implying that I know a damn thing beyond that, because I don't know.
I'm gonna stop it here, folks, because I encourage you to listen to that in its entirety. But he goes on to really, in an eloquent way, state that that's my friend and he will always be my friend. And I stand with him and I hope that this works out for him, but that's not the person I know. I don't know him to be that. And even as he works through this and get whatever it is together and make whatever decisions he feels like he needs to make, I love that he emphatically came out and identified where he stood with him as a friend. And that doesn't, to me, happen enough. And the reason why that's so important to me, Tasha and I are best friends, and we joke all the time about what happens if I die. And she knows that I have told my sister that Sherry's watching that I would want to be cremated. I'm personally not a fan of funerals because they're for the living, not for the dead, in my opinion. But more importantly, I hate how when people come forward who didn't know you all that well, didn't fuck with you, now that person, you can't do anything about it. They're speaking over you. And even some people that in life, I probably wouldn't spit on, all of a sudden now he was a great this, that, and other. So Tasha and Sherry knows, don't give them a chance. I'm a sinner. I've done a lot of things. Spread my ass, fuck a funeral, fuck an expensive casket, spread my ashes out. And I would want, if my friends, people who know me, if you're hearing something about me, to speak up and tell who I was to you. So when you hear something that doesn't quite ring true, well, he was a molester. Wait a fucking minute here. He's a lot of things, but this is not who he was. And I believe so thoroughly about that. And that is how I believe in friendship. If I heard something about one of you on this panel right now, I wouldn't know, like Stephen Smith, whether you did it or not, but I can tell you this. I love y'all. I love you as my friends. And I'm always going to love you as my friends because who I've come to know you as, that's what I would step out in front and say. And I just hate that we don't see that in more, that he's not speaking to whether he's guilty or innocent. That's going to do what it's going to do. But for those of you who are throwing those stones, like Tasha said, be careful. You're trolling. You're making comments. He's the butt of jokes and memes and stuff like that. But by the grace of God, that could happen to anybody. And you don't have to be rich and famous. I went through a 6-week HR investigation. And when somebody shits on your name, it was a beautiful thing that I had established relationships strong enough that the very first person that got called in, you know what they came to me and said? Call me after work. Because they loved and respected me enough to say, I don't know what's going on. And that's the kind of people I hope I surround myself with. I hope you do the same. And I've never been more proud of Stephen A. Smith in that moment. And I encourage you to listen to it in its entirety because he is so eloquent and passionate. But we're so quick when this happens, to Tasha's point, because he's famous, to jump out there and side with the trolls and the most popular opinion that he must have did it and this and that. When I think sometimes if people would have just stood up for R. Kelly or P. Diddy and gave them character references, it may have went a whole different way. I'll give you guys to comment on that before I move on to the next story, but I want to do some comments. Cece says, I listened to the entire video and he made great points. Cece says, this whole debacle is being played out in the court of public opinion, sadly. My sister Sherry says, I'm not spreading your ashes on the street for the hoes to walk on.
Yeah.
Well, Sid, you would be going against my wishes. I am of clear body, mind, and soul telling you, spread me out, baby, and spread me within. But anyway, before I move on to the next story, anybody want to say anything about that? Anything that?
No. It is refreshing that he did speak up for him. And I do hope that other people just on the strength of integrity do that more, just more. Like, I understand it's the money and the brand and you have all this going on, but sometimes there needs to be a stop to it. There has to be a stop to this where someone comes out and makes these allegations and I know like you have like the whole Me Too movement, and you know you want to encourage victims and everything, but there has to be an end point to where you're like, look, stop fucking saying it, stop coming out and saying this. If you want to try, do it in the court. Quit bringing it to social media. There was a guy on Facebook who it happened to him. He ended up like filming like the whole thing because this, and I don't know if anybody saw it. It was a few weeks ago, well, maybe like last month. He was on a date with this chick. She gets in the car with him, like they go to a restaurant, get in the car with him. I don't know what the fuck happened.
I did see that.
She ended up calling the police and saying that
I
he
did
did something
see that.
to her.
I did see that. Folks, I'm so glad Tasha brought that up. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be famous. This is happening now, folks. It's a real thing, and you could lose your name, find yourself in a legal bond. So men and women, Tasha's got a great point. Protect yourself, you know, and make people accountable, because there has to be some way that we can find ourselves out of this modern day McCarthyism. Y'all know what I think of Me Too movement. I think it's hurt true real victims out there. It's credibility because of it. And again, I'll close by saying, Shannon, my brother, and for those of you out there, if I can have successfully navigated some 35 years of beating the brakes off these bitches without getting in trouble, you ought to be able to.
I'm telling you.
Well, you were able. There was no social media around when you were beating the brakes off of them, so you didn't have to worry about that.
No,
either.
not true. Not true. I only stopped beating these bitches about a year ago. So social media. So no. I work these chat lines, chat things, but again, there's a method to the madness. People wonder why I put bitches out at 3 o'clock in the morning, because again, there's a method to the madness. You don't get invited over here unless you know explicitly what you're coming for. I don't fuck drunk women because I don't like drunk pussy. There is no obscurity. I don't and so you're thinking it's that. Are you coming over here to suck some dick and take some dick? Before you get here, we need to establish that, because I ain't got time for that. We have minimal hours to play. You're not coming over here to eat dinner. I don't believe in Netflix and chill and chat. I Netflix and chill and chat by my damn self. Come through here. You have a few moments to settle in, smoke a little blunt if that's what you want. Drop to your musty knees, suck this dick, and take some dick. Then I'm going to clean up all evidence, put your musty ass up out of here. So we're not going to be recording and all that kind of stuff. You're leaving of your own accord around here. And there's no electronic proof of it. But if it was to play out, I would be able to stand you. If it were me, I would have put cameras front and center and says, yes, I stuffed my dick in every crevice and crack this bitch had. And yes, I did do that. I choked this bitch, and sometime I would put a furry belt around her neck so I wouldn't leave no scars around this bitch. She liked to deep up in her ass, and I used to piss on her back, and sometimes I would fuck her mama too. You got me fucked up.
You're a publicist's worst nightmare.
You okay, Black?
You did a publicist.
You okay?
Worst nightmare.
Jesus.
Y'all got me hot in the color.
The only thing that I would like to add is, I think as men, if we got to start calling each other out, if we got a guy, one of our boys is wilding out like Shannon is, we got to have men that can pull him back and say, "Look, Playboy,
great point.
Doing too much.
Great point.
You out here wilding.
I had that too.
Too much. You know what I'm
saying?
Know what? And so that's the one thing. You know,
it's
Shannon,
who you surround yourself with.
Surround yourself with, and then it comes to a certain age where, man, you got to have self-control and self-discipline as a man.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No, I'm just I ain't no wrong on that. I'm just saying we gotta. Right. You grow too old to be doing 20-year-old shit in your 50s. Come on, bro. Really?
Well, I said on my take, and I stand by it. Look, I've thrown my dick on the crap table many a night. You know, sometimes I crapped out. So to CC's point, yes, I'm telling my business. CC, I did use discretion, and there's rules to this game, and that's why he needed good friends around him. And sorry, Mama, for being so explicit, because Sherry says, my mama says.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go,
Can
Mama.
I say something, though?
Yes, ma'am, you can. Before you go, CC says on the flip side, Kenny would have listened to. Listen, I'm just saying.
He may not have, but as his partner, I got to tell him.
That's a very good point.
At the end of the day,
you need somebody to pull you back, but it's still ultimately your decision. Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say two things. He was warned. Ocho tried to tell him before, but instead of him listening, he was talking to him to a condescending tone, thinking he knew more. But Ocho tried to tell him, you need somebody else. You wilding, like I'm gonna give you, and he kept turning it down. So as sometimes you gotta realize I'm your friend, but you're gonna have to fall on your own, because if you keep not into the warning and the heeding I'm trying to give you as a friend, and as friends also, we keep secrets, we gatekeep. Well, I know you tell me something, it's going to the grave. If we fall out or not, it's none of your, it's nobody else's business what you tell me. But also, I should feel like if we have a mutual friend and you respect me as a friend, if I tell you something and try to warn you, like Kenny said, you should call each other out. But if I'm calling you out and you're not listening, then at this point,
you can do.
You just gonna fall on the sword.
I don't. Oh, y'all are definitely right. And we're gonna. And this story has more legs. We're gonna talk. Me and Kenny gonna talk about this more. CC says Kat tried. Monique tried. Cheryl Underwood tried. He just didn't listen. Sherry said Hannah Ocho is a woman beater. So we're not gonna. No, hold on.
He ain't beat her.
Hold on. Because that's what we can. This will take a. Tune in tomorrow. We gonna. This story has so many legs.
It does.
But and here's what makes this complicated, because it starts to veer into other lanes about other things, you know. And I'm only stopping you for the sake of time, because that's why this story is so polarizing, because it opens the doors to so many other parts of this conversation and gets people going, you know. So, all right, let's move on to another story so we can tone it down a little bit.
Somebody had a question.
Please. Okay, go ahead.
Just as a quick poll, we don't have to delve off into it. Men that are on here that are over 50, right? Would you, at your age, fuck with someone, just fucking? Would you just fuck with somebody who is 19, 20 years old? And then Hannah, and then Hannah, at that age, would you, at 19, as a woman, would you have fucked with someone at that age?
Great question. Y'all know my answer.
Yeah.
Well, every man on here is over 50, so
that's why I say you already know my answer. Yes, and twice on Sunday.
I'll make up.
I would. Yeah, I would.
Because you said just fucking, right?
Yeah, just fucking. Just the same thing. Not trying to be in a real relationship.
No.
Just fucking.
I would.
Okay, we got 2 yeses. Be wet. You don't have to answer that question, but you can if you like.
I'm not his warden. He can
Hold on, sister. My brother up there just said we have to be our brother's keeper. So
that's right.
That's right. So I'm telling him.
I get it.
But I ain't that type of sister.
She's not. But thank y'all. That's
beautiful.
Respect.
But I would be irresponsible if I didn't say it. Hey, my brother.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you can choose to answer, my brother.
Can't be 19, bro.
21.
But like 21,
Okay. See, Be Wet has standards. I don't.
Yeah, he does.
Hold on, but Tasha and Hannah, you also asked the flip side of that. Hannah, if you were 19, would you mess with a man in his 50s?
Now, I will be honest. I'm being honest. I was married at 19. However, if he had the coin like Shannon, I would, but I would have been silent.
Okay. So basically, you said yes.
Okay. Tasha?
Only for the coin.
Okay, Tasha. But you would do. But the point is, you would do it.
But he
be down with it.
Okay. Small.
See, you want to give all your tricks reasons why. I'm just saying you would do it.
I would do it, but he couldn't look 50 either. If that makes sense. You know how every 50 don't look 50 and some 50.
Okay,
I get it. I know what you're saying.
Your balls can't drop.
I get it.
I got you. That makes sense.
I get it.
Tasha?
Yeah, and I did it. So
I pretty much knew her
Yeah.
answer anyway. I know she was gonna say yes.
But no, I needed you to say. I wanted to hear you say it and shit. You know.
yeah,
So I say yeah.
it's just sex. It
It's
was
just sex.
sex.
It's just sex.
That's it.
Cece says, old girl wanted 10 mil first. Then she found out he was due close to 100 mil. She upped the ante to 50.
No. See, that's incorrect.
Hold on, Kenny,
That's incorrect. See.
Hold on, Kenny. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's what we gonna air all this out. Cece
right.
says, I can say hell no, Tasha. So Cece is a no.
She said
Cece
no.
says, my grandma said you get worms, but damn, Cece, really?
Dang, CC, really?
Not worms.
Damn,
Not worms.
Damn
it.
Sherry says yes. Grilled cheese sandwich, looking out the window, handle your business partner. My sister Sherry always talking about getting ate while she eating the grilled cheese sandwich.
I noticed that. I noticed that.
Jerry, you gotta chill with this sandwich.
Hold on, we grew up in the same household, sis. What the hell is it with you and sex and grilled cheese sandwich? I'm just saying.
It just does it for her. That's all. It just does it for her.
Look out the window.
That's the thing that I think back to when me and her made grilled cheese. Was this some sexual shit that I didn't know about? What the hell is going on? You know, you and your grilled cheese sandwiches.
What song is playing? Like, what's going on? Where's she at?
You know, shit. Craig says, as a representative of the men's committee, I speak for all the men and say yes.
You're right, Craig. You're right.
Craig.
True.
Terrence says, I'm not over 50, but if given the opportunity, yes, I would.
Yep. Y'all see how easy we are? Y'all see how easy we are?
It's not complicated.
You know.
She said, where did she come up with 25 per cheek? I no idea.
I don't know either. She came up with that in her text, so we don't know.
Great question, Tasha.
The hoes used to be quiet.
She must have
nothing is quiet no more.
We are. We're just retired or we in the house.
Thank
the
you.
quiet
This new generation talk. You're right. This new generation, they don't keep shit quiet. Great question, Tasha. All right, saints and sinners, folks. Let's talk about Michelle Obama.
My girl.
Michelle Obama. The New York Post released an article that I thought was interesting, and just some highlights. They said Michelle Obama can't stop talking about her me era. And on one of the episodes of her show that she does with her brother, it's called In My Opinion with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson. It's a podcast she co-hosts. She actually talked about her reasons for not attending Jimmy Carter's funeral or Trump's second inauguration. And she spoke about the fact that she decided at this stage of her life to embrace saying no. Embrace saying no. And that while it may appear that it wasn't the right thing to do because she got a lot of pushback on the fact that her place should have been by Obama's side during the inauguration, this, that, and the other, because she's a former first lady. But she goes into a lot of detail and talked about the fact that how she's reached a point in her life where, she's making the decision to say no to things that just don't feel comfortable to her. And so I wanted to talk about this with the family's perspective in terms of, how do you feel? She talked about being a woman that sometimes she giving herself into say is a privilege to say no, because how do you feel as a woman? I wanted to ask the ladies, CC, Toria, Tasha, Hannah on the panel, do you feel that there is an innate pressure for women, especially in relationships, to always say and do the right things in deference to how they really feel? I'm so curious about this. Anybody?
Tasha, you want to go?
You can go because I definitely have a lot to say on this.
Okay.
Oh wow!
Here we go.
Okay.
Here, let me put my cup down.
Oh.
We are not your mammy as Black women. Let's start there. Y'all hold Black women to a standard more than you do the first lady in office right now. Let's just start there. Y'all don't question where she's at. I'm a woman in a leadership position, and I have to deal with a lot. And Bird has told me too, I need to say no. And I do not say it. And it comes to the point where I am happy that she found a way to embrace it. Because sometimes I do want to say no, and I need to say no. And I am sick and tired of when we say no or we go against the so-called norm, it's an issue. If Obama didn't go somewhere, y'all wouldn't have questioned him. But because Michelle, we're supposed to be the wife, the mother, the accountant, the appointment maker. We're supposed to be everything for you. But the moment we go against this one little norm, it's a news article. It's a point of view. The fact that, side note, they even are asking where Kamala is, and she didn't even lose, like she didn't lose the race, is crazy. It's like women are always called on to do so much, to be the cleanup, which we don't mind. With me, I don't mind, but don't expect it all the time. So I feel like we should have the right to say no, and it's not questioned. No, it's a complete sentence. But when we say no, it's a discussion. If you're in a board meeting and you say no, it's not a discussion. But if I'm in that same meeting and I come to say no, it's a whole panel. So I feel like we take so much on and we don't know how to say no when we should. I'm learning to say no now. But I respect the fact that she was so high in that limelight that she had to realize I'm no longer the first lady or was the former first lady. I'm still Michelle. And sometimes when we become a mother, a wife, a CEO, a CFO, whatever we do as our corporate world, we forget our birth name because we take on so many titles. So you got to sometimes forget those titles and go back to your birth certificate and realize who you are, what you were born in this world. Before you had these titles, you were yourself. Like, end of the day, I'm Shahana. So I have to realize that sometimes. So I respect the fact that she said, I'm not former first lady. I'm not supposed to clean up everything. I'm Michelle. I'm educated. I'm staying here. My kids are grown, and I am what I am.
I want to ask one question as a clarification.
That was well said. Well said.
That's not the mic for sure.
I get it.
But I want to ask one
question. Don't ask again, damn it. No.
Go, you fix your own damn sandwich, man. You fix your own damn sandwich.
You said that, but I want to get one point of clarification. When you started out by saying, you know, who are you saying that holds women to that standard? Are you talking about Black men, Black people, or men in general?
I'm not talking about Black people. I am talking about white women.
Okay. So you're talking about how
white fully.
Okay, so you're talking about how white women see Black women.
Yes.
Okay, so you wasn't saying how, but you wasn't referring to how men see women.
No, some of y'all, y'all feel the same.
Okay, that's why I wanted to get where you were directing that message to.
Yes.
I should say she got a lot to say on this, so
Tasha.
And for those of you who are watching and don't know, Tasha is this. I have the privilege of having her to come from mixed heritage. So her perspective is always so unique and important to hear from me, hear to me rather. So I would definitely want to hear what you have to say, McMack.
I will. My no is going to be coming from the place of, and I'm speaking to men and anyone else that questions the no that me or any other woman gives. No is, to Hannah's point, because I was going to say the same thing. No is a complete sentence. And too many times and too often when it in relationships, like personal relationships or professional relationships, when you do say no, why? Can you explain that why? And it's very sometimes it's just flat out offensive, because why do I have to explain it? If my answer is no, then that's it. That's final. Don't try to persuade me. Don't come back and ask me later to see if I change my mind to reevaluate it. Because oftentimes when a woman says no, it's because there's usually like this thought process behind it, like, you just feel like that right now, or no, you'll change your mind, or you're fucking selfish. No, because I don't want to do it. No, because I don't want to consider it. No, because it's just not my fucking job. It's just a no, and it's a lot of times it's not accepted. So like when because I did see a piece of that, like what of that podcast and what she was saying, and it's very true, because it's coming. This is happening to a lot of women in relationships, or marriage and marriages and everything. You know, there are some women who still find it difficult to tell their partner, no, I don't want to have any more kids.
Right.
Like, to me, that's crazy. That's your pussy. What you mean? You can't tell somebody no. That's crazy to me. Also, just because or just wanting to take on more, just afraid of just standing up for yourself because of the public perception. The public perception of being a woman of color, of when you say no, you're just being difficult. No, I'm not being difficult. I just don't fucking feel like it. No, I'm not angry. I just don't. It's just no. So yeah, it is disheartening. But I am glad to see that, I would say, for millennials and definitely for Gen Z, it's starting younger to where they are saying no, and it is becoming a little bit more acceptable. And I do hate that for certain generations of women that they did have to wait until a certain age to where now they're able to say it comfortably and not care about the fallout behind it. But it is, hell, I think about that in my family. I'm doing something right now that I should have fucking said no to, but I'm being nice about it.
Wow.
So.
Tasha, you made so many brilliant points, because I do think, I'm for the record, ladies, and I'm going to include CC and Sherry's comments here in a second too. This is educational for me, because I think I'm going to speak for myself. I don't think necessarily I always knew that I was doing that. I'm guilty of that, of questioning sometimes. And I've been married, I've been in relationships, and you ladies are making some brilliant points. I'm 57. There was a time, to your point, Tasha, where there was a sense of duty that women had, so when this came up, I really tried to listen to what she was saying, and I have a tremendous amount of respect, because some people do feel like it was part of her duty to be her husband. And I'm going to ask my brothers here in a second, do you feel like it should have been her duty to be there, to be supportive, because there is probably a different side to it? So I want to get my brother's take here in a second, but I want to get the comments for the ladies in here. Cece says she is true to herself, and self-preservation is the law of nature, so preserve yourself, ladies. My sister Sherry says, my brother tells me I need to learn how to say no more often. It's really not a crime. She says, Tasha, you went into that, hit a nerve. I see.
Yes.
I'm with you, sis. Hell no, we won't go.
Right, we gotta burn the bras again or something. I don't know. Liberate us, please.
On its surface, she simply said no. But folks, brothers, I want you to speak on this. The New York Post, a major publication, they started by saying Michelle Obama can't stop talking about her me era. So when I listen to what these ladies are saying, they're already saying it's selfish of her to put herself above. The name of the article, in case you want to know, this will tell you everything. Michelle Obama is tarnishing her legacy by admitting she would rather practice the art of saying no than do the right thing. That's pretty fucking definitive for a newspaper to. That's the title, people.
Yeah, I have a problem with that headline.
Go ahead, Jenny.
So what was I've heard bits and pieces of Michelle Obama's podcast when she was saying that she had to. So what is the specific question that you want us to answer, Black? I mean,
yeah. Do you think it was part of her duty to be there at those occasions? She's a former first lady. He showed up at those occasions with every other person had their mate there. Is it part of her responsibility in her case? And then, of course, I want to know from where you stand personally about what you feel about women being able to say no. So, where do you?
No, I respect Sister Michelle. No, I didn't feel like she didn't have to be there. And to be perfectly frank with you, she didn't have to give any explain to people why she wasn't there. None of your damn business why I was there. It's because I just didn't want to be. Actually, I respect her more for not being at the Jimmy Carter funeral, not because of Jimmy Carter, because of the seating arrangement. She was going to be sitting next to Donald Trump.
Okay.
And I respect her more for not being there because she can't fake it. I'd rather a person be real. Don't come and be faking it and know you really don't want to be there. So no, I have the utmost respect for her saying no. And I think as a whole, far as of women, I respect a woman that can say no and stand on the 10 toes down. And because you got to protect your own peace at the end of the day. I mean,
I love it.
The women get pulled in all different kind of directions. So, hey, I get it. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Be wet. You're the resident married expert on the panel here, and you're navigating a relationship. And to hear your wife speak so eloquently about owning herself, her identity outside of the married name. One, where do you stand on whether Michelle should have been there? And I definitely want to hear your thoughts on how you navigate being in a position of marriage. I don't know the ins and outs of your marriage. When I was married, I was the head of my household, and that's offensive to some people. But where do you stand in terms of how you navigate your wife and women in general being able to say no?
After my wife Natasha spoke, and they both spoke again eloquently, I was thinking about social norms for women and how sometimes, especially with women of color, they say no, they really don't mean no because of what's expected of them. And they both kind of touched on that a little bit there. And, it's really a shame. I think she's starting to become the epitome of I'm gonna keep that same energy. And when you spoke on, I'm not gonna sit next to Trump and them and whatever.
Right.
It's probably a little bit more that's going on that, of course she don't gotta tell us about this. She already told Barack, like, listen, I don't rock with them. I'm just putting it like I don't rock with them, killing them. I know what they're saying behind the scenes about us and what they're doing. So no, I'm gonna say no, respectfully no. I'm sure she would want to be there for Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was a cool dude.
Right.
He was a good president. He was a good dude. As far as we know, he was a good dude, as far as what I seen. But at the end of the day, she didn't want to be around them, and she didn't want to be fake. Like y'all was saying, I don't want to be fake and not like keep the same energy, because if I'm near, then y'all gonna say I'm a disrespectful black woman and I'm wilding out and I don't know how to keep my emotions in check the whole night. So instead of going through all that nonsense and possibly embarrassing my husband and myself, I'm not gonna be there. I'm gonna turn it down. And you know what? From now on, I'm gonna start saying no respectfully.
Right.
As women, and I don't have no problem with that. Listen, I'm an alpha. All right. And whoever gonna be with me, you gotta stand up. You gotta stand up to me. Iron sharpens iron. And you gotta tell me when I'm wrong. And you also gotta let me know when I'm right. It gotta be balanced there. And I'm sure my wife would tell me, hey, look, I can't rock with you on this one, XYZ, whether I agree or not. If that's how the way she feels that strongly about it, I gotta respect it, because I gotta look at it. If I felt the same way, she gotta understand where I'm coming from. So it goes both ways.
There's a reason why y'all my favorite couple.
I gotta let her be who she gonna be.
Right.
Before she was Hannah Poston, then she was who she was, and that's what attracted me to her. So be who you are. Even when you carry my last name, still have that identity of who you, because you still are her.
That's right.
You just carry my last name, but you still are her. And this is what I fell in love with.
Hannah, go ahead, baby.
I see y'all next week. Say no.
I know that's right. Already.
You don't be choking. I know that's right.
Teddy P has spoken. Turn them off. Turn off the lights.
They don't call him be wet for nothing. Look, I'm trying to tell you, I love you guys. I love where you stand.
Lee, before you go, can I say one thing?
Sure.
despite what he said though, and I know I said I'm a woman, I hear his roar, but I'm also a wife, and I would actually still be there.
Stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there for a reason, because I want to get Craig's question specifically in.
Right.
And it's funny you said that. So stop right there. But I appreciate both of y'all. Y'all spoke to us, and that's y'all still remain my favorite couple, you know, because again, I just love hearing how y'all navigate this thing. Cece says the New York Post is run by women haters. Wow.
Yes.
And she says more women need to take a clue from Michelle Obama. I personally, when it first happened, I said I never thought it was a big deal, to be honest with you, because I've been married before and I've been in relationships, and I thought of it simply as I didn't even think it was a thing, because there's many times if I was going somewhere, let's say my wife didn't like the people, you know, you don't always like the same people, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
you know, and you know that, you know, your mate better, you know, she might not like, and it might not even be the people sometimes. Maybe it's too loud, or they have children or whatever. My wife many times said, "I ain't going with you," you know, and you showed up by yourself and made an excuse for your wife because she didn't want to be there. I really and truly thought about it. Now, okay, this was an occasion. I get it. So that's where Craig's question comes into play. So, ladies watching this, and Hannah, I want you to continue your thought. And of course, Tasha and Sherry and Cece, Craig says, question to you guys. Is it okay to say no, even if it makes your spouse look bad? I felt embarrassed for Obama to be the only living president that came without his wife.
I totally disagree with Craig on that. I did
obviously, we did neither, but he was asking the women in particular, you know, is it okay to say no if it makes your spouse look bad? And I'm going to add to that, is there ever a part of, even though you want to say no, that it becomes a part of, though, your duty, for lack of a better way to say it? What do y'all say to that?
I'll go. I say this. In that instant, you have to know your spouse. Michelle and Obama was married. Michelle Barack was married long enough so she knows he's okay being in public by himself. I know my spouse.
Good point.
So I know that I would have to be there, because at 5 minutes, he's not going to remember nobody's name. He's not going to remember nobody's name. And he's going to want to go. So he can show up and then exit, because I'm going to respectfully help him exit the building. So you have to know your spouse. He might not want to be there.
Great way to answer that question.
Title, he has to be there. But if I'm there, I know how to respectfully exit. So Michelle and Barack has been married long enough to know my husband's okay there. So that only works if you know your spouse. And that's the difference between loving someone and liking someone. You might love them, but if you don't like them, you don't know them. So you can't really be there and know what they think.
Now, do you think, to Craig's point, it made him look bad? Okay.
I don't, because Barack was confident while he was standing there that he didn't need Michelle, and he still was there.
Okay. Tasha, you coming next? Cece says, I disagree, Craig. It didn't make him look bad. What do you say? How do you answer Craig's question, Tasha?
For that actually makes my point for what I was saying, is because there's so much consideration that we're supposed to be given that, oh, well, I don't want to look like that person. I don't want to look like that wife, or I don't want my husband to look bad. Just no is the answer. And even if he does look bad, he looks bad to who? Ooh. To who? We have to stop caring so much about the outside, like the outer appearance. Because for me, it's like, no, like there's too many times where, like you agree to do something, you agree to go somewhere because you may not want anybody talking about you. You may not want it to be like, oh, you just don't want to do certain things. My dad's family tells him that his kids are funny acting because we don't go to a lot of the family things. Right. We didn't grow up like around all the cousins, number one. Number two, a lot of the shit that y'all want to do, I don't want to sit outside when it's 100 degrees outside and it's hot. I don't want to sit outside. I don't want to go to the same places that you go. We don't live like the same type of lifestyle. I'll come to some of the events,
Right,
but if
right.
that means that you think that I'm not at every event that I'm funny acting, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. That's you. And honestly, I don't give a fuck. I just don't care. So
I love that.
Kenny, if you want to say anything, because you said you definitely don't think it made Obama look bad.
No, I don't think so. And I get Craig's point, but I don't think that what if she had a prior engagement? Maybe she had a prior engagement that she had already committed to. We don't know why she didn't show up. But it really doesn't matter why she didn't, because the only person that matters to is her husband. So if he knows she wasn't coming and he was cool with that, why should we care? And I will reiterate that. I think women should have the power to say no, as long as their spouse is cool with it. Don't matter what the outside masses think. So
I love it. CC adds, if I don't want to go, I don't give a rat's ass. I ain't going, and my husband knows and understands my feeling. Bravo, CC. Craig says, my issue is that her not showing up turned into rumors of divorce, to Obama's cheating with Jennifer Aniston, to Michelle having to defend her marriage, and so on. That's the embarrassing part.
They were going to come up with that anyway. Hell, she could have showed
they
up
gonna
and
come
they
up
were
with
going
that
to find a
anyway.
reason. They were going to find a reason to say something anyway. If somebody wants to find a reason to dislike you, it's going to take the smallest thing. So
I get your point, Craig, but go ahead, Kenny. I'm sorry.
I just remember when my Bridget and I were first married, and there were rumors about, people. There were things being said about her and I marriage, and I told her at the time, I was like, baby, I don't care what them people think. They ain't got ish to run over here where we at, and it shouldn't matter. So who cares about the rumors? And Michelle Obama squashed them real quick on her podcast. She said, "Me and my husband fine." So yeah, I think we gotta quit. We gotta quit worrying about what other people think about us, especially women, and and more in particular, because women are a little bit more emotional. They feel that a little bit more, but we gotta quit worrying about what people think about us.
I love it. That's why I love this conversation. Craig says, CC's rather says, Craig, them rumors been going on. They didn't just start. I agree. So I'm agree with all of you guys, and I just wanted to say, Craig, my take on that is, I actually understand where you're coming from. But I've always felt like this. One of the reasons I respect Michelle and Obama, don't know them from Adam, will never get to meet them, and nothing like that, I don't believe. But I love their quiet confidence in who they are as individuals. And that's why, for me, this was a non-story, because I thought about it from the perspective that this is between a husband and wife having a conversation. And he woke up that day and says, I'm going here. She says, I'm staying home. For me, it was really that simple. And I didn't even think about the occasion, but I knew in my head, I figured reasons why she don't fuck with Trump. And rather than put herself in a situation where she's no longer has the duty, she's no longer, she at the preservation of her own sanity. And like Tasha says, I truly respect a woman when they said, no, I'm not doing that, and it should have ended right there. And as far as people's opinions, they seem to be the kind of couple to me that just because they show up and they out by themselves, I don't think they really give a shit about what people think, like as if they have to be together every waking moment. For those of you who don't know, I am a real big advocate of still maintaining your independence, even when you're in a relationship, because to Hannah's point, you still are growing as an individual. Yes, you have a union, but you can't forego that at the expense of being who you are. My marriage was successful as long as it was because we each had a separate room where we can continue to grow and do our own individual things. And in fact, we were very opposite. To Tasha's point, my wife liked sitting in the sun, reading the book and all that kind of shit. And that just wasn't my thing. You know what I'm saying? And so even I've had women I've dated where the people thought, well, why is he with her? I didn't really give a shit. I had a woman I loved her. I wanted her to display a little bit more of her body because I personally wanted people to know that she had some really good pussy under the sloppy clothes that she wore. But, you know, she chose to dress kind of whatever. But I knew I was with her, you know. So for me, you have to get comfortable with y'all already know everything comes down to that mustard seed. Grown woman says, exactly, Lee. You see that they have a great respect for each other's feelings. Yeah. Look, if it don't equate to that mustard snatch, then it don't make no sense for me. So, but anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing
this. Saints and sinners, we coming to the end here shortly. I'm not going to stay on this one too long because I'm stepping on the sports guys lane. Shador Sanders, you know. And the reason why I put this story in here is because, long story short, you had a guy that was projected to go in the first round, and at one point he might have been like in the top 3 picks. He literally slid all down to pick number 144 when the Cleveland Browns traded up to get him. But why did I put this in here about Saints and Sinners? Because it's opened up a conversation, though, about, again, just like the Michelle Obama story, where people have so many opinions on what his character was like and why he didn't get picked, and they didn't want to deal with his dad, Deion Sanders, or whatever, you know. So I'm just curious in a short way, and I want this is a real short story. But for our Saints and Sinners portion of it, where do you? I'm curious to each of you, and I know maybe the ladies don't follow sports as much as you can. So even a human element of it, Hannah says she does. But even if you took the sports part out of it, the human element part of it, do you think it's okay, or where do you stand on the fact that this young man went through a horrific situation? Do you feel sorry for him? What is your take in terms of, now I'm asking you whether you're the angel or the devil. I'm looking at Tasha's face. Are you the angel or the devil in this sense, the saint or the sinner, in terms of giving a shit about where he slipped and how this whole thing is played out? Anybody?
Well, let me go first. I could give 3 fucks, okay? I could give 3 fucks. The saddest thing about this entire ordeal, the whole draft has become about him. Never mind the people who did go first. Never mind the ones that did get selected and their stories, because there were some great stories there, and there were some sad stories for some of the people that did get picked. Yeah. Never mind that the only reason why anybody cares is because his name is Shador Sanders. If his name was Gilbert Williams, nobody would give a fuck about this. It would not have gotten the traction that it did. So who gives a damn? Just because you didn't get picked at what they selected you, at what people projected you to, and then you ended up on a team where they collecting QBs like fucking Pokemon. Who cares? Just whenever you do get the opportunity, just prove people wrong. Just let your play. Just let your play. Just how you play your style, just do what you do, and just let the naysayers say whatever they want to, because just because you weren't picked where you wanted to, that doesn't determine the level of your your talent and what you're able to do. Who gives a fuck, honestly?
Hannah?
I do not agree. I'm gonna say this right now. They want us to buck break. What is it called? Buck break is so bad. If he was not the complexion he was, this would not have been a discussion. They want a story of a black man suffering, and you bring your mother out of the projects, and your mom didn't eat here, and you sold your pussy for $5 for Newports and a cooler. Then okay, yeah, you here. Just like with that other draft, he had a good story, and it was like, how did you struggle in Louisiana? And the mom was like, no, we're from Shreveport, and they had a problem with it. And he was not as big as Shador. So I feel like if it was a struggle story, because he's black, it would be an issue. It wouldn't have been an issue. But because he has a dad, nepotism is a thing. Now, do I feel like Bronny should have been in? No. But his dad did what he did. Do I feel like Shador should have been in? Because besides Deion being his dad, he was still his own individual person. And the issue is, y'all have a problem because his dad is successful, and he had a good career, high school, college. It was an issue when he came to the drafts because y'all looking at his dad when he had his own spotlight. Y'all didn't say nothing about Trotter going to the Eagles. Him and his son got a ring. Nobody said nothing. But then when you come here because of Deion's position that he got, because y'all criticized Deion because he went from HBCU to went to another school, y'all had an issue with that. Y'all don't like the confidence of a black man. I'm going to support the confidence of a black man no matter what. So I do not care if y'all have an issue because he's confident. The issue is y'all not confident enough. So y'all mad that he wants to have confidence in himself. No, I don't think he should have been 5th because of his stats. However, I feel like if he was a poor black man from Newark, New Jersey, they would have ate it up and drafted him 1st round. But you don't always have to be a success story. Sometimes you start successful and just move up. And it's okay to have nepotism, but he didn't have that. Bronny did, but he didn't.
Okay. Brother Beware, what you think?
Number one, it was to me buck breaking to show you that you're not bigger than the league, and whatever that he possibly could have been bringing in. I was hearing reports that he was bringing camera crews. They was going to be doing a little whatever they were going to be following him around and having some type of a show or something weekly. So you hear a lot of this, and then on top of that, you got the Deion Sanders effect as well. So you really can't get to Deion because he's in the college ranks. So the best way to get to a man is through his children. So it looks like, whatever was going on, they were talking about interviews and stuff like that. But little do we forget, the Mannings did the same thing. His dad said that my son's not going to play on the West Coast. He's going to play on the East Coast. Is that
right?
Is that something? I'm sure them other teams felt a certain way, but they didn't blackball him and say, oh, well, we're going to make you drop since you don't want to play for the San Diego Chargers or you want to play for whoever it is on the West Coast. Also, the same thing happened. Lest we forget John Elway. John Elway wanted to go to didn't want to go to a certain team. He wanted to go to where he wanted to go to. Is that privilege? So there's a lot of different layers that's going on here. But just like one reporter said last night, I'm not sure if it was Rich Eisen, I'm not sure who it was, but he was just saying like this is embarrassing right now. Because right now you're making a young kid suffer because you're trying to prove a point. You can go behind. We already know what the NFL is. Primetime can let him know, like, listen, I ain't got no pull. You know what I mean? That's the good old boys club and what they say.
Right.
No, I'm sure he primed them, no pun intended, already. They could have went behind closed doors, talked to him, say, hey, listen, this is what it is. All right? Boom, 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 knock that out. If y'all wanted to play a little game, all right, we're going to wait to the 2nd round if you want to really prove a point. Okay, but making him wait to the 5th round, that was a little excessive, especially for his skill set. He might not have been good as a couple of the other quarterbacks, but he was good enough not to go 5th round.
Okay. I'm coming to you next, Kenny. But Craig says, to Tasha's point, Tom Brady was drafted 199 in the draft. Shador drafted 144th. Draft position doesn't always equate to talent. And for y'all you don't know, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback that ever lived. TB12 is my dude. But okay. CC says, at Craig, so true. I love me some Tom Brady. But Kenny, you're the sports guy on this. Bring some light to this where you stand on this issue. I want to hear what you got to say.
I'm not gonna go too deep because I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more. But I think I read a lot of social media posts. I'm in quite a few sports groups, and I think a lot of people was going a little bit too deep. This isn't as deep as we really wanted to be. At the end of the day, the reason for the fall of Shador, and I don't think it's right, is because a couple of anonymous NFL personnel people didn't like the way he interviewed. That's what happened. At the end of the day, has nothing to do with, the buck breaking. At the end of the day, the NFL is an old white man's club. You got these NFL execs and personnel, they in cahoots. They talk to each other. So a couple of guys talked to the media, wouldn't say their name. They didn't like the way he interviewed because of his status. So that was really the only issue, because if you look at the quarterbacks that was chosen before him, I would say only one of them is better than him, and that's Cam Ward.
Gotcha.
That's it. So at the end of the day, that's what happens. So the thing about the NFL and any sports league, you got to learn how to play chess, not play checkers. And this is what happened. But I don't like the way they did Shedeur. I think it was unfair. I think it was BS. I think some of the things that happened, the prank phone call with somebody calling him, acting like they was the GM for the New Orleans Saints, and then telling them you're going to have to wait a little longer. You don't do no 22, 23-year-old kid like that. Come on, man. Why? What are we doing? That shit ain't funny. You messing. This is this young man's career. Don't do
Tasha
that.
disagrees.
Oh, she thought it was funny. That pissed me. That actually pissed me off more than anything, because then you recording this and then you see this and it's like, wow, okay, what you gonna get out of this? So I don't think that's cool that you do somebody like that. So again, Shedeur's gonna be fine. He probably won't stay in Cleveland because they got like 5 quarterbacks, but he's gonna be fine. And after he get through all this will be another part they can write to his story.
Okay, let me add my.
Well, all he got to do is get Deshaun, get a masseuse in there. We'll get Deshaun right on there.
He don't need to be rolling with Deshaun. That's the last thing he need to be doing. Get some goddamn massages. No way.
We'll knock him down. We'll just pick him off one by one.
Let me give my little 2 cents. Sherry says, I don't know who he is, but hearing the story, Tasha, I 4th and 5th given a fuck. I guess that's what she meant. So here's my take on it. I guess I'm more with Tasha. I don't really give a shit about this, you know. Now, having said that, it was embarrassing. Now, for me, I didn't watch the draft at all. I was dependent on my brother up here to keep me informed. This is a true story. I've been going to your shit to keep up with what's going on, because I never, but now to my full disclosure, I never watched the draft. It's just too goddamn long for me, first of all. You know what I'm saying? It's just too much.
I get it.
I never really liked the NFL draft. Having said that, there were some elements of it that, looking at it, reading about it, it's embarrassing. But you said something, Kenny, a minute ago. He's going to be fine. Hannah, I don't think this was about race for me. This, for me, was about entitlement. And this, for me, was about what Stephen A. Smith tried to elocute about the Bronny James situation. Now, for the record, I have no issue with nepotism.
Me either. None at all.
You know, I don't give a shit if it's on the basketball team. It could be working for, FedEx. If you've been in a position at FedEx for a long time and you could grandfather your family into it, you damn right you should do it. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But this, to me, was about, yes, a good old boys network teaching him a good old-fashioned lesson of humility. And Stephen A. Smith, the whole LeBron James, Bronny James thing, is where Stephen A. Smith was trying to say that LeBron put such a target on his son's back by saying he better than people who plan and this, that, and the other, when we all know that you held the purse strings because you put yourself in a position where anybody gets my son's going to get me. And so, of course, it put inadvertent pressure on them to, even if they had to pick, you might have went somewhere else. So when I watched the little bit I've known about the Sanders family, and I love me some Deion Sanders. I think he's a phenomenal, not only coach and inspiration, but just a person. I always loved him. But you've raised some entitled kids, as we know that you did. And now you have the NIL. He's going to be just fine, folks. If you're worrying about him having money, stop that. He's not worried about that. In a way, to Craig's point, it's not about where you get drafted. I hope that this humbles him in many ways and makes him go out there and recognize your dad accomplished all these things. You did not. You have not proven yourself. And so this was a league letting you know that LeBron James, so to speak, can't father you in here. We hold the decision makers, and now you have to come in and with a little bit of humility, a lot of humility, and be able to say, okay, let me readjust and let me prove. We know he has talent. We know that. And to your point, Kenny, he probably won't stay in Cleveland. But again, I think coming in with all the fanfare, this, that, the other, And if you went into these views or whatever, living off what your dad has accomplished, then I think it hurts you in many ways. I think it's very humbling, but in a good way. Just like no gets a bad rap, humility is much needed, and we don't see enough of it now, especially when we come to young athletes. They're ushered into these scenes with so much fanfare and money, in many cases making more money than the coach.
Oh yeah,
overshadowing the coach, that you can't coach these people. Maybe this is a great thing. There's a reason why I brought up Tom Brady. To Craig's point, Tom Brady, go back and look at the draft. He didn't look like he was going to be anything. This was a clumsy, slow person, but he literally cried telling it, and he turned out to be one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever lived, because it basically affected his work ethic. And so for you, Shador, you'll be fine.
Hey, Black.
You'll be absolutely fine. I hope this means that now you'll kind of settle in and prove yourself. Go ahead, B-Wet.
Yeah, the one thing that you did mention, I know we got jump to something else, but remember, you just said that Tom Brady was clumsy and all this other stuff. That wasn't Shador Sanders. And when y'all talk about
so even more so. So
yeah,
I'm only bringing
that's kind of proving a point on they're trying to blackball him because he wasn't that clumsy guy. He was ranked number 2, number 3, or at least top 5 quarterback. And
I hear you.
Yeah, and the other thing is when you talk about buck breaking, we're talking about, just like you both stated. You both stated that this is a good old boys club.
Yep.
So the best way that you can break somebody, especially black, you got a buck break, and we're gonna make you really pay. And I gave a couple examples of white players that did that, and they didn't do that to them, but they did it to this guy. So that's
they did it to Johnny Manziel.
I was going to say, you make a valid point. I just don't see this as racial.
But they didn't do it to Johnny Manziel because
Kenny makes a good point.
But they did it. They did it to. There's some other white players that I can name that they did.
Some of these people need humility.
I can name a ton of them, but what I'm saying is that Shador had the pedigree, and he was a top 3 quarterback.
And I agree. I agree with that, but I agree with Black when they said this isn't about race. I think this is about entitlement. This isn't about race at all.
I'm not disagreeing with you
in my opinion.
That's apparent, and I just don't see it as blackball. I do think this was a good old-fashioned humility lesson, in my opinion. But you make a valid point too, my brother. Absolutely, but yeah.
I think we're going to see situations like this in other sports, basketball, because the new era, like their kids are getting older and they have a lot more kids that are going into the league. Correct. I think this is something that's definitely going to keep happening. It's going to be the same conversation.
To this point, maybe this was a little bit of the owners, the organizations getting some of the power back of being able to say, you need to come in with some humility and be coachable.
Why do he have to be humble?
You have to. You're not shit.
That's a good question, Hannah. I agree with you, Hannah. I agree with Hannah. I don't think you have to be. I don't think you have to be humble. You should be who you are. I agree with that.
Yeah. So I think you absolutely have to be humble. For me, it's one of the reasons why I don't watch sports is because the arrogance that I see. But again, I respect your view. I will agree to disagree.
Kobe was not humble, and he
was
different era, different time. MJ wasn't either.
MJ was humble, and
you're not between them lines. He wasn't. He damn sure wasn't.
But okay, that's true.
But real quick, even Kobe got humbled as well.
That may be
not humble.
He wasn't humble.
But that may be true.
So to your point, Hannah,
Shador,
I'm not saying his
Shador's talent is not on that level, though. That's not the same. That's not even the same comparison.
He can be as prideful and boastful as he wants to.
But
all the pro people are saying that.
I think you guys are getting too hung up on. I think you're getting too hung up on the number. It doesn't matter where he falls on the number. It doesn't take away from his talent.
That's my point. I'm not questioning his talent. And I'm not. Hold on. Let me say this real quick. I'm not even saying he personally needs to be humble. He's entitled to feel as proud as he wants to. But a team also has that obligation, in my personal opinion, and they have the power to say, you're not going to bring that attitude here.
I agree with that part. But
all right. Let's close out on the last portion. I love this because this is why I brought it to the table. It is polarizing. Every topic we've talked about tonight has been polarizing, where you could fall on either side of saints and sinners. I'm going to close out with the actual movie Sinners, Ryan Coogler's masterpiece, Sinners. If you have not seen it, it has grossed domestically right now. What is it? $344 million domestically, and internationally, $720 million. So there were people that were saying it wasn't going to make its money back because it's, it's a horror film and rated R, and it was $90 million and this, that, and the other. Let me share a couple other things about this movie just for me to hype it up. It has a 98% Rotten Tomato score, if you believe in that kind of thing. Fandango gives it 97%, and the audience ranks it at 93%. I have seen it. I have actually seen the movie, and I'm here to tell you, a grown woman says she haven't seen it yet. Let me make sure I put that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it yet. It is continuing to grow legs because I was reading about it today. Initially, more men went to see it, and I was a little surprised by that until I guess I thought about it. But I thought more women would initially jump out there to see it because Michael B. Jordan is the was time. Oh, damn! Hold on. I'm not talking about whether he. Okay, look, I'm not jockeying for the dude. I definitely don't want to fuck him. But he was rated the sexiest man in the world.
That man is from The Wire on crack.
Not to me.
Okay, so maybe. Look, so somebody rated this dude the sexiest man in the world. I thought it would be more women viewers going on the strength of that. And surprisingly, it was more overwhelmingly men. But guess what's happened? Because the word of mouth, now the women audience is starting to grow, and that's where the money is starting to come in. Because even like my niece and my sister in New York, hearing me talk about it when I was coming home that night last Saturday, and now they're like, I'm gonna see it, this, that, and the other. But it's growing legs. But I gotta tell you, folks, it's brilliant. It is a very, very good movie. And for those of you who may not be a Michael B. Jordan fan, I read this article today. When you walk away from the theater, believe it or not, he's not necessarily the person that you're talking about. This new actor in the movie steals the show. The movie is kind of about this other guy. It comes on, he's the first character you see.
About to cut it off.
No, I'm not going to tell you what happened. I'm not even going to tell you what happened.
Please don't tell us.
No, I'm not going to tell you. All I'm going to say, I'll say this, so I don't want to spoil anything. You are grabbed instantly, and he never lets go. Ooh. He grabs you in the first 5 minutes. He grabs you in the first 2 minutes, and he never lets you go. I had to pee with my weak ass bladder being a diabetic and a fat fucker that was sipping on a big drink in there. And I was like, oh my God, I was dancing in my seat. And I couldn't handle it no more. I was going to piss on myself, but I didn't want to miss not a single moment of it. And the movie is just great storytelling. I'm not telling you nothing about the plot. If he took the vampire element out of it, it still would have been,
Yeah.
What you say?
There's a vampire element to it. A lot of.
If he took the horror, let me say this: if he took the horror movie element out of it, it still would have been one of the better movies that I've seen in a long time. The story transcends and transforms you back into 1935 Mississippi, and he does such a great job of developing these characters. And I'm talking about 2 minutes in, you're caught, and it just takes you to the mute. If you haven't seen this movie, Cece says he has charisma. Michael B. Jordan, for those of you who don't like him, let me say this. That first hour of the movie, the baton was passed from Denzel to him.
What? Okay.
I don't
Forget,
know.
forget Free.
No.
The other stuff that I like him in that first hour, I sat there and I thought he just became a superstar in this moment for me, because up until this moment, he hadn't acted.
Really? In Black Panther, you don't think so?
No.
When he
No,
was
in Black Panther, it was Chadwick Boseman. He played a good role in that.
Did you see
even in Creed and the other ones, he's good. He's an adequate actor for me, but I'm like, gosh, I never was over the fence with him. I never thought that. Okay, I thought Chadwick Boseman and Mahershala Ali was poised to be the next big things for me when I look at acting. But in this movie, that first hour was where I sat there and I said, okay, Michael B. Jordan he's got it now. He's got something now that I didn't see before. Cece said he is a good actor. You can't take. Yeah, that's why. I love every movie he's been in, for the record. But I didn't think he was Chadwick Boseman or Mahershala Ali, or he certainly didn't fit for me in the category of Denzel. The role he plays in playing twins.
Twins? It's twins?
Oh man, so okay. I'm gonna stop there.
I was gonna say, stop talking to him because he's gonna give away the plot. I'm gonna watch it. I don't know though. I think I'm a lot. My problem is I think a lot of times is when there are naysayers to a movie, then everybody hops on the bandwagon talking about how great it is, and then you watching it like this shit. All I'm saying is it better be good. I'm not paying to watch it, but I'll watch it. But it better be good. That's all I got.
Here's where I think you might like it though, Tasha, because again, in many ways, he is not the central character.
I don't care who it is.
And it's
he doesn't have to be, as long as if it's truly a good story. And that's the thing. A lot of movies now, they're not good. They're just not good.
You know me, you feel that same thing. And that's where I walked away saying this was a great story. Even if you took that element, it just was a great story. And for it to be original story, Tasha, how many times we talk about there's no originality?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is something that hasn't been told before, you know. And so
I'll watch it tomorrow and see.
So anyway, go ahead, Hannah.
I didn't see it, so I don't care if he was the lead or not. Horror is Burton our thing. I didn't know it was gonna be vampires. Now I'm more happier. Bert tries not to tell me a lot because he think I overanalyze a movie.
Okay.
I don't overanalyze a movie, do I?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he think as soon as I see a movie, I act like a lawyer and I overanalyze and try to figure out the ending. However, I love horror. I don't think Michael B. Jordan is attractive, but I do think he's a great actor.
Why you talking that brother?
Huh?
Why you keep talking that brother?
I'm not dog him. I think you're attractive. That's all that matters.
You're right.
Okay.
She's not wrong. He's not attractive.
Okay.
No.
He gets
hey y'all, somebody voted. I don't think it was men that voted him as the sexiest man alive.
I don't know who voted. But anyway, I feel as though
I want to see the tally.
And I have respect for Ryan.
What you say? You want to see his tally?
No, I said I want to see the tally of who did.
Okay.
Me too, Tasha.
You know what went through my head? I was thinking something else.
Right, Tasha. I'll say this.
I was thinking something else you said, but okay.
I'll say this. Outside of Michael B. Jordan, I have respect for Ryan because I saw the behind the scenes of how he did some of the Asian people that were there at the time. I saw the behind the scenes, really know. And I respect that he spoke up for himself and said, after 25 years, I want the rights, and he deserves it. I feel like Ryan
did a great job. He did a great job.
I feel like I didn't see the movie yet. We're going to see it, and I can't wait to see it. But
I can't wait to hear y'all opinion too. And Tasha's hard on movies, as am I. So I can't wait to hear y'all opinion.
Because you came at the last Bad Boys, and I ain't like that, Lee. But
it wasn't good. This is for me. Bad. If I don't leave the theater saying I can't wait to see that again. It's a bad movie.
That's me.
Well,
That's me,
it's
Hunter.
gonna be part
I
two.
saw it, but I
love
wouldn't sit
part
through it
two.
again.
It was better than part 3.
I love part 2.
Hell no.
It was better than Bad Boys 3.
Hell no.
Bad Boys 3 was trash.
I can't wait to hear y'all take. And they have a great combination. Go. You know how Denzel and Spike Lee have a great chemistry?
Yes.
These two clearly have a real good chemistry with it. They're
Now.
continuing to grow. Huh?
You got me excited now.
It's really good. And more than that, I'm happy for Coogler. That's why I didn't even mention Michael B. Jordan. I'm happy for Coogler. He's building a resume, a filmography that has really good value, and this is going to greenlight him being able to tell other stories.
Yeah.
Who I hate died. What's the guy that made Boys in the Hood?
John Singleton.
John Singleton. You know, it was great that they have a different way of telling a story, and I hate that he died so young. And so here comes Ryan Coogler, who has a different eye than a Spike Lee. You know
I haven't liked any of his movies.
John Singleton, really?
Ryan Coogler. I haven't liked any of his movies. So, no,
did you ever see Fruitvale Station?
No, it didn't even interest me to even go and watch it.
Fruitvale is hard to watch.
That was my first introduction to him, and then of course I like Black Panther. You know, because I'm a Marvel fan.
Like it. I didn't even watch the second.
I like the whole Creed thing as well. So he's done. You know, I'm a fan.
Lee,
huh?
Not many people realize he was back there at Fruitvale Station. And when I say that, people like, no, he came out Black Panther. No,
he did Fruitvale Station. Yeah,
acknowledge
that was that. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Fruitvale Station.
And it's kind of like Precious, like Hannah said. It's a heavy theme movie, you know.
True.
Yeah, but it's true story, based on a true story. But yeah, so I wanted to end on a positive note and a recommendation that it is a great movie. It's got really good actors in it who do a great job. Delroy Lindo is in the joint.
Delroy Lindo in
there? Yeah. So that's why I said it's got a lot. It's visually very stunning, very attractive, and it holds your attention. So it's just it's one of the few times that I've been to the movies in a long time where I've enjoyed myself. So, we got Big Head Sherry popping in at the end. What's up, sis? How the hell you can call at the very end and the show is over?
Hi, Sherry.
Now, why are you coming in at the end and the show is over? I don't know if she can even hear me. Sherry,
what's up,
sis?
Going on. There's like a major delay.
Mama is laying down and she rested. Say hi to your mother.
Mommy, what's up, mommy?
See Freddie saying hi.
Hey, mama.
Freddie saying hi.
Hey, mama.
Hi, Freddie. Wave your hand. Wave your hand.
Hey, mama. So y'all don't know, going to see my mama.
Say everybody else saying hi. Wave your hand to
going home?
See yourself on
I'm
TV.
going home. I won't feel complete. I can't do the rest of my year until I put eyes on my mama. That is the greatest woman that ever lived. As mean as a rattlesnake, but that is my mama. I'm going to see my mama. Yes, indeed. I'm going home. So gotta go home. So I am in a great mood. I'm going to end. I hope everybody have a great Saturday. Kitty, we lost him.
What's up, y'all?
A little bit.
What's
up, sis? Yeah, but you can't coming in now looking at talking shit and the show is over.
Lee, I do have one question.
Hannah, I love them glasses. Look,
hold on. Let me end this show.
No,
y'all
gotta give me them glasses. I don't care about that. I like
Sherry. Let me end the show and y'all can hang behind.
I love
you. Come bring your monkey ass in here at the end of the show. Now I want to talk about glasses.
Lee and Tasha, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did y'all see the trailer to him?
The trailer to what?
Jordan Peele's him.
No, I have not.
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to check that out tonight.
Check it
I'm gonna
out.
have to check that out tonight.
Okay.
Let me end the show, and then we can hang around. Let me end the show. We can hang around. For those of you watching, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed Saints and Sinners. I hope it inspires some conversation. And check me out tomorrow, Kenny Sports Guy. I'll be on his show 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 Central Standard. And check out Kenny's Sports Guy section. We're gonna cover some more in detail about this. But hang behind for those of the family that want to talk. But enjoy your Saturday. As always, laugh more, smile more, and always keep it real. I'm your host, Lee Black. Peace.